All right, welcome back for the episode of Carnivore Trades. Today is Wednesday, March 8th, 2023. If you're not done so already, please give the video a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com for swing trading alerts and analysis. Anyways, let's get into the markets here today. So really kind of chop shop type of day here. So markets basically opening flat. Powell was on Capitol Hill again. We got a little algo dump there. Again, he didn't really say anything new from yesterday, and it's not like he would have anyway. I mean, everything he needed to say, obviously, that the market needs to know would have been said the first day anyway. We did get the JOLTS. That came out hot, and that came out at the same time, so we got that initial algo dump. And right now, what we're kind of seeing is, to me, it does look like the bears are trying to build a base here. We're getting a little gamma unwind in the final 20 minutes here. As you can see, my guess is we close right about here around 39.90 for the 0 DTE gamma. But either way, if we take a look at the hourly here, we have a down move here, and now we're just kind of consolidating sideways. You see that 50 MA right there. They may be targeting that 400 area for tomorrow. You see the 120-hour moving averages up above here. But I do think this market does need to go down and test lower prices here. Again, nothing's really changed here. What I have noticed, though, from the bears, at least today, is it doesn't seem like they're as impatient as they were a week ago. If you guys remember back, even down here on the 24th, I was like, I don't really like this action. I want it to kind of just go sideways. And we just kept making, we had a lower low, and then we made another lower low, and then we got that gap down Thursday, and I said, look, we might rally here. Obviously we did here, but right now the bears seem a little bit more patient, and they're not trying to force it right now. So again, if this consolidates further, remember we do have the non-farm payroll tomorrow. That will obviously be market moving, but if this consolidates further and builds a base, again, we have a lower high now. The bears have that to lean on with the red bar with heavy volume, and we're getting a bounce here. I would call today a pause day. It's, we're going to finish with a daily doji. Looks like we'll finish right on that 50 moving average, so 39.90, right in that range. Let's look at the SPX. Yeah, we're right at 39.91 right now. And there's the SPX 50 moving average, which we just touched a little bit this morning, and now we're kind of just fading off of that. But again, that's kind of the bias I have right now here, is that we're seeing kind of just an hourly base. Now, the thing that's keeping me from getting too bearish, at least that definitely was for today, you take a look at the semiconductors here, and that has had a good day here, up 2.5%, up move, and then kind of a flag here throughout intraday, and then we had a nice little bid. You see NVIDIA just does not want to go down right now. It does have a pretty solid looking rising wedge though, and this is getting pretty tight up here. If this has a surge, it still has that 618 up there at 260, and that's, it's quite a bit of ways for NVIDIA, or it's actually 255 to 260. So, it's 15 points or so away. That would, be a pretty big surge. Would probably be a blow-off move, but it's coiling up in this range. There's no guarantee it gets there, but it's holding up well. But this is a tightening pattern. I did tweet this earlier. You can see you have a pretty good RSI divergence there. And on the weekly, we're going up into this big red bar here. There's lots of bulls trapped up there, so they will become sellers. You also have 3, 6, 9, 10 weeks green in a row. It's up well over 100% now. In the last, 5-6 months. So very extended here, but this right now is, to me, this is kind of the new Tesla, where it's just that one stock that they use when they want to keep the market propped up, but they want to sell other things. And now we're seeing a little bit of weakness in Tesla. I tweeted this as well. For tomorrow, if this gaps up, this would be a pretty good bear pattern here on the intraday. Take a look at the hourly there as well. That's a really good bear base. There's support at 180, and we're just consolidating above that. If this continues to consolidate, it's going to bust through that. So NVIDIA is really kind of like the last general right now that's standing. We talked about that, kind of like Bitcoin, Tesla, and NVIDIA being the generals that were keeping the market up. And right now, NVIDIA is really the strongest one. Bitcoin actually dipping a little bit still. Again, into that green bar, we have that daily consolidation right into that area, daily inside bar, which we'll talk about later. But again, NVIDIA is still a strong horse. AMD had a good day as well, up 4%, higher high there, so that is pushing up. This is still a strong name, so we have to respect that here. And this market, it's going to be choppy this year. I don't think we're going to get anything that's, we'll definitely have trend, but I think we're going to have a lot of big moves up and down. really all year long. But for right now, I do think in the near term, we are starting to build a bear base. You can see we're stalling out here. Market closes in 2 minutes. We'll probably close right on 39.90. That is where all the gamma is concentrated right now. Anyways, let's get over here. Let's talk about the Qs again. Outperforming here, up about 0.5%. And again, SMH doing a lot of legwork there. Obviously, we back tested this little trend line, and it's holding for now. We still have resistance up at this pivot and this red bar high, but we'll respect the Qs. They're hanging in there okay for the meantime. As far as the Dow, again, a little bit on the weaker side, down 10 basis points. Had a little bit of a test candle here. I don't like this pattern on the Dow. So we had a breakdown, we tested it, and now we're testing lower prices. If this flags, this can set up for a move lower, possibly down to this trend line. So that would take you down to 320. You also have a really good pivot right there at 317. The Russell, this is also very weak. It's hanging on here by a thread. They're holding it here. At the end of the day, you can see they squeezed it off there. And it's holding that 50 MA here on the IWM. A weekly close above this blue line is a failed weekly inside bar. So be careful that we're down. We're below it right now. Again, they're saving it here. I think we'll definitely get our answer by Friday, but that NFP number is going to be huge. It's going to dictate a lot of these levels on many of these charts here. But IWM, it's hanging in there, but this was weak all day long. So, and very much like Monday, it was leading to the downside, and it led to the downside all day today. Whereas the spiders weren't really, you see here's a pivot low from this morning. Spiders basically had a little micro double bottom pierce, and you see here's the pivot low on the Russell, and it well eclipsed that. So still showing some like laggard chip, even though it's popping off the lows, still showing some weakness here. So we got to be careful here. That could be a leading indicator going into tomorrow and possibly Friday. All right, so we mentioned the semis already. Let's look at cloud. So cloud was red all day long up until the last 10 minutes or so. It's basically just flat right now at this point, flat to positive. Again, holding that 20 moving average. We did have a pierce of that trend line, and we backed off yesterday. Again, we'll watch this here for pattern. It's hanging in there for now. We'll just leave it at that. The transports were also very weak for most of the day before getting that nice little surge here. So they're up 0.5%. Again, little gap down, went green, and then we went pretty well red here. Again, notice where the low is of the day, versus the spiders. It, just barely clips double bottom, and the transports were a lot weaker here before we got that nice little squeeze there into the close. And there is the bell. So again, looks like we closed right on 39.90, 39.92. So we hung out right there. And you have a daily doji. So, pretty simple here, equal buyers to sellers. And again, the hourly, you're just going sideways here. So that is potentially a bear base. So we'll be watching for that. And we never really, on this up move here, we never really changed the trend on the hourly. And you can see now we're increasing the spacing again between these moving averages. So again, we'll watch that tomorrow morning. A gap up, I would be a little bit concerned about as a bull. All right, so transport's hanging in there. Let's look at the yield. Let's look at the 2-year. This just can't get out of its own way. Just very weak here through double bottom. A lot of the time when let's flip over to the actual yield here. A lot of the time when you pierce a whole round number, like say SPY 4,000 or 400, or in this case 5% on the 2-year, for the first time, usually there's a pullback right after, and we just, we closed above it yesterday, and then we just continued today. We had a minor pullback here on the 2-year, and it just went surging up. So this looks like an impulsive move. Again, doesn't mean we can't have backing and filling here, but this is not a good look here for the market. You see the 3-month there, 3-month, just basically 5.3% there. 5s almost through double top here. 10s, back below 4%, but this is a strong pattern. Notice the trend. Trend is now up here. Look at those moving averages. And the 30-year, again, this is acting a little bit better here. The bond is, but the trend is still up here. I know a lot of people are looking for a squeeze in bond yields, but I am not seeing it at the current time. Maybe there's a little bit of safety coming into the 30-year, but this market's it's tough here. So anyways, trend is up in yields and down in bonds still. Market's holding up for now, so we'll respect it. But that yield curve now, 2s and 10s, 108 basis points, or 105. excuse me, no, 108, and then the 3-month 10-year is 105. So big time inversions here. Anyways, housing XHB, hanging in there, came off the lows again, like everything else, up 1% on the day. Still just struggling with that 20 moving average. Again, I'm still expecting lower highs here. I don't like housing right now. ITB, same thing. VNQ also very weak here. It did have a nice day, up 1.5, or excuse me, 1.15, but down move, and now you're just chopping, right? We broke this trend line, and you're just chopping down here. So, a close above this trend line could, be a short-term kind of win here, but ultimately on the weekly, this is not a good pattern. It's a bear pattern, so just be careful with it there. Speaking of bear patterns, XLF, that's a triggered head and shoulders now. So right there's your left shoulder, your head, and then right shoulder right here. That did trigger today. Maybe they can save it tomorrow. You did hit the 100 MA, but we came down once, and then we put in a lower high, and now we're hitting it again, and it came off the lows, but with everything else. But notice how it came off the lows, and you didn't even get back above the opening low, or you tested it, but we kind of backed off there. So a little bit of weakness there from XLF. That continues to be soft. It's not a good sign moving forward. Broker dealers here, XBD, that's holding up okay, up 0.5%. Again, still a giant rising wedge there. Down move. This could be a bear flag here on the daily. The trend is still up, so we'll respect it for now. And you've had a few test candles, so it's holding up for now, but just be aware that it is a tightening range there. All right, over to energy. So crude just continues to be all over the map. It had those nice 2 up days into the end of the week, Friday and then into Monday. Closed above the 100, and then we rejected it. Another lower low today. So again, what are we going to say here? It's just a consolidating pattern on the weekly until proven otherwise. So we'll just leave it at that there. XLE here, a little bit of a down day, obviously, so down 1% or so. Again, it's still just stuck in this range. Let's not make too much out of it until we break either down here or up this yellow trend line. So it's holding up, but a little bit weird though that this was, with rates hitting 5% or above 5%, the energy has backed off. Specifically, crude has been in that range. I think that's inventory related, but energy XLE kind of backing off today, and then you had semiconductors up 2.6. A little strange, but anyways, over to XOP. Again, kind of just holding this trend line. But again, watch those lower highs. This could be setting up for a move lower. It's hanging in there for now, so we'll respect it. Again, watch that yellow trend line on either side, just like the XLE. OIH backing off here. This still looks okay to me, though. It's holding up well on the bigger time frames until proven otherwise. Nat gas holding the 20 moving average. It's hanging in there. Let's not make too much out of it. Again, I could see one more move down. In fact, this may actually make kind of an ABC up. That's possible. So we could have a little bit more of a low to make here over the next week or so, but this has put in its bottom, and again, $4 is the target here. All right, over to the dollar. So DXY, we got rid of that old trend line, and we do have an inverse head and shoulders that triggered yesterday. And you can actually see it, I think, a little bit better on the euro right there. So if I can get my trend line, that's a pretty good looking head and shoulders there. So not quite triggered on the euro specifically, but on the DXY it definitely is. But either way, nice move there. That should take you up to, probably about 110, 111, which would be this pivot right there. Again, my target for kind of major is right around 109, but we might overshoot, into that pivot high. So that can still play out as long as you hold above this area. That can move higher. So again, dollar showing lots of strength here. Gold here, again, under pressure. I'm still not in love with it right now. Needs to go down and test 1775. And I think lower than that as well. Silver also under pressure here, a little doji, red candle doji. It's trying to hold these pivots here. I still think it has one more leg down, and then will be a very good buy. Platinum also just kind of a nothing burger here today, just sideways. This probably wants to set up lower, but I think it needs to consolidate a little bit more. Copper here. Nice little rally here, but it backed off the highs. We basically tested the 50 and 20 MA on the dailies, and this red bar high, essentially we backed off of it a little bit. Had a nice dump before the COMEX close, and now we're kind of just bear flagging. So I expect that to continue lower as well, as you guys are aware. All right, lastly, let's cover Bitcoin again really quick. Again, just kind of hammering on this level. It did come off the lows a little bit, but that inside bar started to play out. You know, it's got a lot of work to do here. You held this low, but this is not a great pattern, right? So down move, and we're just kind of, you know, lazily inside of that. You know, if you can get back above 23, you know, then maybe you could have a chance to, you know, continue higher, but not a good pattern here right now in the short term. And again, we got to watch that weekly. If that dumps out and we lose 21,368 on a weekly close, this is going to go a lot lower very quickly. But I do not like this pattern here on Bitcoin. You see, it's got to hold that green bar there. All right, lastly, let's get back over to the spiders again. So again, little gamma unwind into the close. This is a daily doji here, a pause day after a big down move on volume. That's not uncommon whatsoever. But I'm watching here this hourly pattern. If this continues sideways, if we gap up and we can't hold it, this could want to head lower here. And we have room to go on the downside. So just be aware of that moving forward. But the semiconductors are showing some strength, so we got to be a little bit cautious. If that remains the case, then this market can hold up. So just be aware of that moving forward. Anyways, guys, going to wrap it up here. You guys take care. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com. Talk to you all tomorrow.